Hi guys, so today I'm going to be covering the third topic for the English section of the IBA LUMS admission test, and the topic is called subject-verb agreement. Now, this is something that all of us make mistakes in. This is a very common error, and there are about 12 rules that you should know about. They're not difficult at all, but it's just that, they're just common errors that all of us make. So we're gonna try and learn how to avoid these errors from now on. So I'm going to start with the simplest rule. The first one is if the subject is singular, the verb must be singular too. So now you need to understand what a subject and a verb is. I'm sure most of you already know, but I'm just gonna repeat it for people who don't know. So the subject of a sentence is the thing or the person that the sentence is about, right? So for example, the first sentence is she writes every day. So in this sentence, she is the subject of the sentence. Okay, whatever is being talked about, whether it's a person, a place, a thing, anything, that's the subject. And verb, all of us know what a verb is. It's an action word. So the verb being done by the subject, those two must be in agreement in a sentence. So let's read the rule once more. If the subject is singular, the verb must be singular too. Okay, the subject and the verb must be in agreement. So in the first sentence, as you can see, she, which is the subject, is singular, and so is the verb. The verb is writes, which is singular. If it was plural, it would be write. Okay, the singular form is writes. I'll just write this down. Singular form is writes, and plural is right. But it's like this in the case of this sentence. It's not always like this, okay? It depends on the context of the sentence. So this sentence is saying that she writes every day. So she and writes are both in agreement because they are both singular. Okay, there's one exception to this. Sometimes, okay, so we use the word they in two different places. Okay, number one, when we're talking about when our subject is plural. Okay, number two, when we don't know the gender of our subject. Okay, so let's talk about the first one first. So when we're talking when our subject is plural, for example, if we're talking about a group of people, so we're going to say they write every day. So did you notice how I used the word write? I used the plural form because my they was also plural. Okay, but the second case, when we don't know the gender of our subject. So sometimes we're talking about someone, but we don't really know what their gender is, right? So, for example, this sentence, the participant expressed satisfaction with their job. They are currently in a managerial role at the organization. So, we're talking about a participant, but we don't know their gender. So, did you notice how we use the word they? Okay, that does not mean that we're talking about several different participants. That just means we're talking about one participant, but we don't know their gender. So we're going to refer to them as they. Okay, but remember that using the word they does not make the subject plural. The subject remains singular because we're still talking about one participant. Okay, but when we use the word they, then obviously, so they is the subject, and then the verb must be in agreement with the subject, right? So then we're going to use the word are, which is plural. So when our subject is plural, our verb will also be plural. Okay, even if we're talking about only one subject, which is our participant over here. So the whole point of this is that sometimes the word they can take a singular form, as in this case, when we were talking about one participant, but we didn't know their gender, so we referred to them as they. Okay, so the whole point is that sometimes the word they can take a singular form, but the verb used along with they will always be plural. So always remember that. Okay, so the second rule is also fairly simple. If the subject is plural, the verb must also be plural, right? In agreement with the previous rule, which said that if the subject is singular, the verb must also be singular. So now we're saying that when the subject is plural, the verb must also be plural. For example, they write every day. Now, they is being used in the plural form over here. All right. In the previous slide, I told you that we use they in two cases, right? When we're talking about plural or when we don't know someone's gender, okay? But right now we're talking about it in the plural sense. So our subject is plural and hence our verb will also be plural, okay? So the sentence, they writes every day is incorrect because I'll just write this down. They write every day. Okay, this sentence is absolutely incorrect because the word they is plural and the word writes is singular. Okay, so the subject and the verb are not in agreement, which is why this is incorrect. Similarly, if I want to say and write every day, this sentence is also incorrect because an is singular and the word write is plural in this context, right? So they're just not fitting together and they're not in agreement. The subject and verb are not in agreement. So remember, when the subject is plural, the verb must also be plural. When the subject is singular, the verb must also be singular. So the correct version of the second sentence is and writes every day, okay? Not and write every day, and writes every day. And the first one is the they writes every day is incorrect. So you're going to say they write every day. Okay, so the third rule is when the subject of the sentence is composed of two or more nouns or pronouns connected by and, use a plural verb. Now, sometimes our sentence does not have only one subject. Sometimes we're talking about two subjects or three subjects or more. Okay, so it's not always necessary that our sentence only has one subject. For example, the sentence Kate and Anne swim together. Okay, so in this sentence, we have two subjects. This is one and this is two. So whenever the subject of the sentence is composed of two or more nouns or pronouns connected by the word and, use a plural verb. All right, so what does this mean? That whenever our sentence has two or more subjects, we use the plural form of the verb. Okay, so saying that Kate and Anne swims together will be incorrect. Okay, so for example, if the word swims was written over here, Kate and Anne swims together, that is absolutely incorrect because Kate and Anne, there are two subjects in the sentence, and then using the singular form of the verb will be incorrect. Okay, so we have to use the plural form of the verb, which is swim. Okay, so let's look at the first example. The doctoral student and the committee members write every day. So let's identify our subjects. The doctoral student is our first subject and the committee members are our second subject. Okay, so so we're going to use the plural form of the verb write. Okay, we're not going to say writes. The doctoral student and the committee members writes every day is incorrect because the subject and the verb are not in agreement. So we're going to say the doctoral student and the committee members write every day. The second example, the percentage of employees who called in sick and the number of employees who left their jobs within 2 years are reflective of the level of job satisfaction. So, the percentage of employees who called in sick is our first subject. The number of employees who left their jobs is our second subject. Within 2 years are reflective of the job satisfaction. Okay. Did you notice the word are? Are is a verb here, okay? And what form is it? It's plural. And why is it plural? Because our sentence is composed of two or more subjects, two subjects basically. So um, I'll give you another example. My friends and I play, oops, my friends and I play basketball together. So the subjects of this sentence are my friends, number one, and I, number two. I'm the second subject. Play basketball together. Okay, so play is the verb here, and I'm using the plural form of the verb here. Now, the singular form would be plays, which would be wrong because if we say my friends and I plays basketball together, that's wrong because once again our subject and our verb are not in agreement with each other. So that would be incorrect. So remember, whenever there are two or more subjects in your sentence, you have to use the plural form of the verb. Okay, now our fourth rule is when there is one subject and more than one verb, the verbs throughout the sentence must agree with the subject. Okay, so we have two example sentences over here. So let's see the first one. So I've highlighted the subject in yellow and I've highlighted the verbs in green. So as you can see in the first sentence, there is only one subject, interviews, right? The whole sentence is about interviews. So therefore, interviews is our subject. And then, so let's read the whole sentence first. Interviews are one way to collect data and allow researchers to gain an in-depth understanding of participants. So we have one subject and we have many verbs, okay? So our verbs are number one is are, number two is collect, number three is allow, and number four is gain. All of these are action words. Okay, so what does our rule say? Our rule says when there is one subject, which we have here, and more than one verb, which we have here, we have four verbs over here, then the verbs throughout the sentence must agree with the subject. So let's see if they are agreeing, okay? So interviews is plural, okay? All of us know that. The singular form is interview, and the plural form is interviews. Okay, now let's see if the verbs are agreeing with the subject. Interviews are one way to collect data and allow researchers to gain an in-depth understanding of participants. So the word are is plural, the word collect is plural, the word allow is also plural, and the word gain is also plural, and interviews was also plural. So what did we learn? We learned that when the subject is plural, our verbs, no matter how many verbs we have in that sentence, all of them should be plural. Okay, let's check the second sentence. An assumption is something that is generally accepted as true and is an important consideration when conducting a doctoral study. So, our subject is an assumption and it's singular, right? Because it's an assumption. We're talking about one assumption. And so, therefore, our verbs will also be singular. Okay, so the word is. Okay, I hope all of you know that the words is and am are all verbs. Okay, I discussed that in the first video, but in case some of you didn't know, these words are considered as verbs, right? Because they represent states of being. So, for example, if I say, I am sad, then it's representing my state of being, right? It's telling you that I am sad. So, am is a verb. Okay, or if I say that she is sad, then it's representing her state of being. So is also a verb. Okay, so just remember these three words are considered as verbs. So how many verbs do we have in this sentence? We have one, we have two, we have three, we have four, and five. Okay, and as you might notice, all of these are singular. Okay, is singular, the second is also singular, the third is also singular, consideration is singular, the plural form of consideration would be considerations. So this is singular, and conducting is also singular in this context. Okay, so the sentence makes complete sense because the subject and the verbs are in complete agreement with each other. Okay, so I have another example sentence over here that I've written down. Playing sports helps you learn how to cooperate with other people and work together as a team. So let's identify the subject of this sentence. So playing sports is the subject of the sentence because that's what the sentence is about. Now let's identify the verbs one by one. So helps is a verb, learn is a verb, how to cooperate is a verb, with other people and work together as a team. Work is also a verb. Okay, so now that we've identified our subject and verbs, we notice that this sentence has one subject and four verbs. Okay, so let's see if the verbs are in agreement with the subject. Okay, so let's first identify, is the subject singular or plural? So our subject here is singular. Okay, it's singular. And the verbs, so helps is singular, helps you learn, learn is singular, learn how to cooperate is also singular, and work is also singular. Okay, so all of the verbs are in agreement with the subject. Now we can't say that playing sports help you to learn. Okay, just because the word sports is plural, okay, sports is generally used in the plural form. Just because sports is plural does not mean that you're going to make your verb plural too, okay, because that will be incorrect. So treat the words playing sports, this entire thing, playing sports, as the subject, and that itself is singular. Okay, so playing sports helps you learn, not help you learn, helps you learn how to cooperate with other people and work together as a team. So whenever our subject is singular, no matter how many verbs there are in the sentence, the verbs must be in agreement with the subject, and it's the same for when the subject is plural. Okay, so we're going to do one last example and then move on. So I've written another sentence over here. My friends cheer me up when I'm sad and support me in times of need. Okay, so let's identify the subject of the sentence. The subject is obviously my friends because that's what the sentence is about. And now let's identify the verbs. So cheer is a verb. Cheer me up when I'm sad and support me in times of need. Okay, so the words cheer and support are verbs, and my friends is the subject over here. So now my friends is obviously plural, right? It's not singular. Therefore, our verbs will also be in the plural form. Okay, so cheer is plural. The singular form of the verb cheer is cheers. So, for example, if I was talking about one friend, I would say, my friend cheers me up. But right now, I'm talking about a group of friends. So, I'm going to say, my friends cheer me up when I'm sad and support me in times of need. Support is also the plural form, it's not singular. Singular would be supports. So, again, if I change the subject to one friend, so if I say, my friend cheers me up when I'm sad and supports me in times of need. Okay, so cheer will become cheers and support will become supports. Okay, in that case, our subject is singular and our verbs will also be singular. But in this case, our subject is plural. We're talking about a group of friends. So our verbs will also be plural. Okay, so the fifth rule is when a phrase comes between the subject and the verb, remember that the verb still agrees with the subject, not the noun or pronoun in the phrase following the subject of the sentence. So what this means is that sometimes our sentences are very long, okay, and there are a lot of different words between the subject and the verb. So our subject in this case is the student, and our verb in this case is, right? The word is the verb. So now, as you can see, there's a whole phrase between the subject and the verb. So this might be confusing because then when you're writing down the verb, you might take the phrase into consideration, but that's something you don't have to do. That's incorrect, okay? So for example, so what this rule is saying is when you have a subject, this is our subject, and then you have a verb, but there is a phrase in between, just ignore the phrase and just make sure that your subject is still agreeing with the verb. okay? And the verb is basically still agreeing with the subject. Now, what some people might do is they might say that the student as well as the committee members are excited. Okay, so they're gonna say are, but that will be incorrect. Okay, just because the phrase in the middle is plural, right? Because committee members are plural. So just because the phrase in the middle has something that is plural does not mean that you change your verb, change the form of your verb. Okay, so, because you have to understand that the subject is still the student, okay, the subject has not changed, and the subject is still singular. So, our verb must be singular, it cannot be plural, okay? So, we cannot write the student as well as the committee members are excited. That is incorrect because we have to refer back to our subject, which is singular. So, we're going to write the student as well as the committee members is excited because we're still talking about the student and the committee members. This phrase is just extra. Okay, this phrase is just extra. We're not going to take this into consideration. Let's see the second sentence. The student with all the master's degrees is very motivated. Okay, again, our subject is the student and our verb is the word is. Now, there's a phrase over here, there's an extra phrase over here that we're not going to take into consideration because our subject is still the student, which is singular. So our verb will also be singular, which means that our verb will be is, not are. So we cannot write that the student with all the master's degrees are very motivated. That's incorrect because we're still talking about one student, right? No matter how many master's degrees he has, we're still talking about one student. So the student, see, if you omit the phrase in the middle, if you imagine that this phrase is not there, okay? This one is not there. You have to read the rest of the sentence and see if it makes sense. Okay, the remaining sentence is the student is very motivated, and that is correct. Now, for example, if I had written the student are very motivated, that's incorrect, right? All of us know that the subject and verb will not be in agreement if I write the word are. Similarly, for the first sentence, if I omit the phrase in the middle, if I ignore it, if I think that it's not there, and if we read the remaining part of the sentence, it's going to read the student are excited. And that's incorrect because the student is singular and we can't write are. Okay, so let's move on to the third sentence. Strategies that the teacher uses to encourage classroom participation include using small groups and clarifying expectations. So our subject is strategies and our verb is include. Now let's see, strategies is plural, of course, because the singular form of strategies would be strategy. So this is plural. Okay, there's an extra phrase over here that we will ignore when deciding what verb to use. Okay, so imagine that this phrase is not there. Okay, that the teacher uses to encourage classroom participation. This phrase is not there. Let's read the rest of the sentence. Strategies include using small groups and clarifying expectations, right? This makes sense. So I cannot use the word includes. That will be incorrect because we're talking about strategies, which is plural, and so we're going to use the plural form of the verb, which is include, not includes. Okay, so we cannot say strategies includes using small groups and clarifying expectations. That's incorrect. Okay, so whenever you're faced with such a situation, just try and omit the phrase in the middle, just ignore it, imagine it's not there, and read the rest of the sentence and see if it still makes sense. Okay, given that you understand what the subject of the sentence is, because you sometimes people make mistakes in identifying the subject of the sentence. All right, so for example, in this one you may think that the subject is teacher, okay, which is wrong. The subject is not teacher, the subject is strategies, because the whole sentence is about strategies. Okay, so let's reread the sentence. Strategies that the teacher uses to encourage classroom participation include using small groups and clarifying expectations. Okay, so we're not going to take the teacher, which is singular, sorry, the teacher, which is singular, into consideration, because that will that will mess up our verb like that. So just ignore this and take the word strategies into consideration, which is plural. Okay, the last sentence is the focus of the interviews was 9 purposely selected participants. Okay, now our subject is the focus, which is singular, and our verb is was. which is also singular. Okay, so there's an extra phrase in the middle, which if we ignore, for example, and we read the rest of the sentence, so it will go like the focus was 9 purposely selected participants, which makes perfect sense. Now, I can't say that the focus were just because the word interviews is plural does not mean that my verb will be plural because my sentence is not about the interviews. My sentence is about the focus. Okay, so as long as you know how to identify the subject of your sentence, you'll be good to go. Okay, and whenever, once again, whenever you're faced with such a situation, just remove the phrase in the middle, pretend like it's not there, just cancel it out, and read the remaining sentence. Okay, and it should make sense. So I can't say that the focus were 9 purposely selected participants. That's incorrect. The correct sentence is the focus was 9 purposely selected participants. So our sixth rule is when two or more singular nouns or pronouns are connected by or nor, use a singular verb. Okay, so let's read an example sentence to understand what this means. So the sentence is the chairperson or the CEO approves the proposal before proceeding. So as we can see, there are two different people being talked about here, the chairperson. Okay, so we basically have two subjects, okay? The chairperson, the CEO. Okay, and both of them are singular. The chairperson is also one person, and the CEO is also one person. Okay, so the chairperson or the CEO approves the proposal before proceeding. So this is our verb. And what does the rule say? Whenever two or more singular nouns or pronouns are connected by the word or nor, use a singular verb. And hence we have the singular form of the verb, which is approves. The plural would be approve, but the singular is approves. Okay, because see, you have to understand what the sentence is trying to say. It's saying that the chairperson or the CEO, which means one of the two, not both of them, one of the two will approve the proposal before proceeding. Okay, so we have to treat the sentence. For example, if you want to make more sense of it, you can omit this part. Okay, let me use a different pen. This one. Okay, how about you try and omit this part and then read the rest of the sentence? Okay, omit the second subject. Just talk about the first subject and see what the sentence sounds like. So, for example, it will be the chairperson approves the proposal before proceeding. Okay, and that's correct. Now, similarly, now we're going to remove the first subject and just look at the second subject. Okay, this is the first subject, this is the second subject. Let's look at the second one. The CEO approves the proposal before proceeding. See, so what we're trying to do is we're trying to make the verb agree with both of the subjects. Okay, so the word approves agrees with this, and the word approves agrees with this also. Okay, so we're not going to treat the two subjects as plural because there's a word or in the middle. What does or mean? Or means either one or the other. Okay, so if, for example, if I say I want an apple or an orange, that means I don't want both of them, I just want one of them. Okay, so I'm going to treat my subject as singular. So similarly over here, the chairperson or the CEO approves the proposal before proceeding. So our subject, even though there are two subjects in this sentence, we're gonna think of it as singular, and so our verb will also be singular. Okay, now another example of this is either my mother or my father takes me to the park. Okay, so let's try and identify the subject. My mother, my father. These are the two subjects. And my verb is this, takes, right? So let's see. And we are connected by the word or in the middle. Okay. So either my mother or my father takes me to the park. Now see, again, what we're trying to do is let's try and make a sense of this sentence. So this sentence means that Either my mother will take me or my father will take me. Both of them will not take me together, which means that my subject is singular because only one of them will take me. So either my mother or my father takes me. Okay, it's not going to be take. Either my mother or my father take me to the park. That's incorrect. So the correct word is takes because we're treating the subject as singular. And again, what you can do is you can omit the second subject just for a second. Just think that it's not there. Okay, and read the remaining part of the sentence. My mother takes me to the park. Okay, that makes perfect sense. So you can't say my mother take me to the park. You're going to say my mother takes me to the park. Similarly, if you omit the first subject, you imagine for a second that it's not there and you look at the second one. So it's going to read my father takes me to the park, right? It's not going to be my father take me to the park. So you have to treat the subject as singular, and similarly your verb will also be singular. Now let's look at the second sentence. Neither James nor Henry likes to do his homework. So our subjects over here are James, number one, Henry, number two. Our verb is do, do his homework. So do is the verb over here. Now, um, so again, we're going to apply the same concept over here and also notice that the two subjects are being connected by the word nor, okay? So think of it like we're talking about one person. Let's omit the second subject. Let's imagine for a second that it's not there. So James likes to do his homework, okay? So we're not going to say James like to do his homework, okay? We're not going to say James liked to do his homework. And similarly, if we omit the first one, we're not going to say that Henry liked to do his homework. We're going to say Henry likes to do his homework. Therefore, our sentence, even though there are two subjects over here, we're going to treat them as singular because it's either one or the other. It's not both of them together. Whatever action is being done in the sentence, for example, doing his homework, it's being done by one subject, not both the subjects together. So yeah, just remember that whenever we have two or more singular nouns or pronouns connected by the word or nor, use a singular verb. Okay, so this rule is very similar to the last one. It's just different in the sense that in the last one, we were saying that, there are two subjects in the sentence and both of them are singular. Okay, but in this one, we're saying that there are two subjects in the sentence, but one of them is singular and one of them is plural. Okay, so let's read the rule once. So it says when a compound subject contains both a singular and a plural noun or pronoun joined by or nor, the verb should agree with the part of the subject that is closest to the verb. This is also called the rule of proximity. Okay, so let's see. We have two subjects in the first sentence here. The student or the committee members write every day. So the student is our first and it is singular, okay, because we're talking about one student. Our second subject is the committee members. So this is number two, but this is plural, okay? So now we're in a fix because our first subject is singular, but our second subject is plural. Now what do we do? So our rule says that our verb should agree with the part of the subject that is closest to the verb. Okay, so our verb is right here, and so what is it going to agree with? It's going to agree with the part that is closest to it, okay? So the committee members is plural, so our verb will also be plural, okay? So the student or the committee members write every day, okay? So in this case, obviously, because one of your subjects is singular and the other one is plural, so your verb cannot agree with both of them together. It only has to agree with one. So it always has to agree with the subject that is closest to it. Okay, similarly, let's read the second sentence. It's the same sentence, they just moved around the subjects. So again, the committee members or the student writes every day. Okay, there's one very important detail over here, that these are being connected by the word or. And what did I explain to you about the word or? The word or means that either one or the other, both of them are not doing anything together. The action being done in the sentence is only being done by one of the subjects, not both of them together. Okay, so what does this sentence say? The sentence says the committee members or the student writes every day. Now, the subjects have been shifted around. The committee members is our first subject, which is plural because we're talking about a group of members, and the student is our second subject, which is singular. So now what will our verb agree with? Because it cannot agree with both subjects at the same time. So it's going to agree with the subject that is closest to it, which is the student, which is singular. So we're going to make the verb singular as well, which is writes. Okay, so we've written a singular verb over here. So the committee members or the student writes every day. So I have another example over here. Neither Anna nor her friends like to go swimming. So the subjects of this sentence are Anna and her friends. So the first one is Anna, which is singular. The second one is her friends, which is obviously plural, okay? And like to go swimming. So is uh, like is the verb over here, okay? So now what is the verb going to agree with? It's going to agree with the subject that is closest to it, okay? So her friends, which is plural, which means our verb will also be plural. It will be like, it will not be likes, okay? If it was only Anna likes, okay, if we were only talking about Anna, then it would be Anna likes. But we're also talking about her friends here, and her friends are closest to the verb over here. So our verb will agree with the second subject, which is her friends. So neither Anna nor her friends like to go swimming. Now, if we say neither Anna nor her friends likes to go swimming, that will be incorrect because the verb has to agree with the subject closest to it. Okay. Okay, so this is a fairly simple rule. The words and phrases each one, either, neither, everyone, everybody, anyone, anybody, nobody, somebody, someone, and no one are singular and require a singular verb. So, you just have to learn these words and remember that they're all treated as singular, and therefore the verb that will be used with these will always be singular. Okay, let's read some examples. The first one is each of the participants was willing to be recorded. So each is singular, and so our verb will be was, which is singular. It will not be were. Were is plural, that would be wrong. So we're going to use the word was. The second sentence is neither alternative hypothesis was accepted. So neither again is singular, and so was will also be singular. I will offer a $5 gift card to everybody who participates in the study. So everybody is our subject and participate is our verb. So, sorry, participates is our verb. So everybody is singular, and so our verb will also be singular. No one was available to meet with me at the preferred times. So no one is singular and was will also be singular. So the best thing to do is to just learn all of these words that have been listed over here. Each one, either, neither, everyone, everybody, anyone, anybody, nobody, somebody, someone, no one, and yeah, that's it. So just learn all of these words and just remember that they will always be treated as singular, and so the verb used with them will also always be singular. So I've just written a few more examples for you. So the first one is nobody wants to go to the circus. So nobody and wants. Okay, so nobody is singular and wants is also singular. Somebody has left this note for you. So somebody is also singular and has left is also singular. Okay, the third one is anybody can perform on the stage. So anybody is singular, can perform is also singular. Each one of you will be given one more chance. Each one is singular, will be given one more chance, singular. So the best thing to do is to just learn all of these words and just remember that they will always be treated as singular. Okay, so the ninth rule is non-count nouns take a singular verb. So let's try and understand what non-count nouns are. Okay, so firstly, there are some types of nouns that can be counted, and there are some types of nouns that cannot be counted. Okay, so for example, if I want to write down a noun that can be counted, I can write door, I can write car, I can write chair, pen. Basically, anything that can be counted, you know, is a countable noun. But then there are non-count nouns that don't really, they don't have a specific amount. They can never be counted. They can never be measured. Okay. Like, for example, education. Now, education does not have a specific number, right? It cannot be measured. It cannot be counted. Similarly, a lot of feelings are also uh, non-count nouns. For example, honesty, courage, love, happiness, and sadness. So there are many more, but these are just a few examples just to make you understand what non-count nouns actually are. So you can never measure these, right? So whenever you want to decide whether something is a non-count noun or not, just think about whether it can be measured or not. Can education be measured? No, it cannot. Can honesty be measured? No, it cannot. It cannot have a specific amount. And it's the same for courage, love, happiness, sadness. It's the same for a lot of different feelings, like, for example, worry, fear, anxiety. So all of these will be considered as non-count nouns. Now, what is the rule? Non-count nouns take a singular verb. Okay, so all of these will always be treated as singular, not plural. Okay, so let's read the first example. Education is the key to success. So education is obviously singular because it's a non-count noun, and is also singular. So we're not going to say education are the key to success. That will be incorrect. So the correct sentence is education is the key to success. The second one is diabetes affects many people around the world. So diabetes is a non-count noun, so it's singular, and affects is also singular. So we cannot say that diabetes affect many people around the world. That's incorrect. Even though the word diabetes might seem like plural to you, it's not plural, right? Diabetes is a disease that is, the word diabetes itself is singular. Okay, just because it has an s at the end of it does not mean that it's plural. It is singular. So diabetes is a disease, and so you're going to treat it as singular. So diabetes affects many people around the world. Okay, the third example is the information obtained from the business owners was relevant to include in the study. So again, information, even though it seemed like information should not be a non-count noun, a lot of people think that it isn't, but it actually is, because you can never measure the amount of information, right? You can never measure information. You cannot count information. So it's singular, and was is also singular. Okay, the fourth sentence is the research I found on the topic was limited. The research, once more, you cannot count research, you cannot measure research. So it's singular, and was is also singular. Okay. Okay, so I have one more example for you. All of you must have heard this phrase before at least once in your life. Honesty is the best policy. Okay, so what do we notice here? Honesty is a non-count noun, and so it is singular, and is will also be singular because it has to agree with the subject. Okay, so there are many more examples of non-count nouns, but I'm sure you understand the point that whenever we're talking about a non-count noun in a sentence, the verb that goes along with it will always be singular. Okay, so in the previous rule, we talked about non-count nouns, and here we're talking about countable nouns. Okay, nouns that can be counted. So, for example, earnings, goods, odds, surroundings, proceeds, contents, and valuables only have a plural form and take a plural verb. So, the first sentence is the earnings for this quarter exceed expectations. So, now earnings can be measured, right? They can be counted. So, this will be counted as plural. It's a countable noun. And exceed will therefore also be plural. It will not be exceeds, it will be exceed because the subject is plural. Now, the second sentence is the proceeds from the sale go to support the homeless population in the city. So, once again, the proceeds can be counted, they can be measured. So, it's a countable noun, which means it's plural. Okay, and the word that goes along with it will also be plural. Okay, it's go. It will not be goes. Goes is a singular form. This will be go, which is the plural form. The third sentence is locally produced goods have the advantage of shorter supply chains. Now, locally produced goods are measurable, so it's plural, it's a countable noun. Have the advantage of shorter supply chains. So, have will also be plural. Now, the singular form of the word have is has. We cannot use the word has over here. Okay, we cannot say locally produced goods has the advantage of shorter supply chains because that will be incorrect because the verb will not be agreeing with the subject. Okay, so this is a non-count noun, it will be plural, and hence the verb that goes along with it will also be plural. Okay, so this is true for any other countable noun used in the English language. For example, chairs, right? Chairs we know can be counted, clouds can be counted, pencils can be counted. Okay, so we're going to use plural verbs with these countable nouns. So are. The chairs are blue in color. We can't say the chairs is blue in color. We have to say the chairs are blue in color. However, if we're talking about one chair, we can say the chair is blue in color. Then for the second one, the clouds are gray, and the third one is the pencils are broken. So if we're talking about one pencil, we can say the pencil is broken. But when we're talking about many pencils, we have to say the pencils are broken. Okay, so number 11 is in sentences beginning with there is or there are, the subject follows the verb. That means that the subject comes after the verb. Since there is not the subject, the verb agrees with what follows the verb. Okay, so now it's clear that there is not a subject, right? There is nothing, it's not a subject. So let's look at the first sentence. There is little administrative support. Now, is a verb over here, but there's no subject before it, right? So far, all of the sentences that we read, all of the examples that we worked on, the subject was always before the verb, right? First the subject came, then the verb came. But now look, what do we have here? The verb is coming first and there's no subject yet, right? There is not a subject, but the subject is coming after the verb, which is administrative support. So now in this case, what we're going to do is the same. It's just that the position of the subject has changed, right? So, but that doesn't change anything. If the subject is plural, then this will also be plural. If the subject is singular, then this will also be singular. It's as simple as that. Okay, so there is little administrative support. We know that the word administrative support is singular, so we're going to use the singular verb over here. Similarly, in the second sentence, there are many factors affecting teacher retention. So again, the word there is not a subject. Okay, the word there is not a subject. Then we have our verb over here, and then we have our subject coming after the verb, which is factors. Factors, as we all know, is plural, of course, right? So the verb will agree with the subject. Okay, so there's nothing different going on over here. It's just that the position of the subject has changed. First, it was coming before the verb, now it is coming after the verb, but that doesn't change anything. The verb and subject still have to be in agreement. Okay, so we're finally on the last rule, which is collective nouns are words that imply more than one person but are considered singular and take a singular verb. Okay, let's read this again more carefully. Collective nouns are words that imply more than one person but are considered singular and take a singular verb. Some examples are group, team, committee, family, class. Now, look, all of these words, we know that a group is not just one person, it's a group of people. A team is not one person, it is a team of people. A committee is not one person, it is a committee of people. A family does not have one person, it has lots of people. And lastly, a class does not have one person, it has lots of students. So even though we know that these are collective nouns, okay, these are called collective nouns. All of these are collective nouns because we know that these words are, they always mean a group of people. They never mean one person. Okay, they always mean a group of people, so these are collective nouns. So whenever we are using collective nouns in a sentence, the verb that goes along with the collective noun is always singular. Okay, because we are treating collective nouns as singular. Okay, so let's look at the first sentence. The group meets every week. So now the group is singular, even though group means a group of people, but we're going to take the entire group See, think of it like a group has 10 people, but we're taking the entire group as one group, right? The group itself is singular. It has 10 people in it, but the group itself is singular. So the group is singular and our verb is meets, so it's also going to be singular every week. The second sentence is the committee agrees on the quality of the writing. So the committee again is singular, even though there are many people in a committee, the committee itself is singular because it's one committee. Okay, so the committee agrees is also singular on the quality of the writing. So I have two more examples over here. The team plays well. Now the team is of course singular, and so our verb will also be singular. This family goes for a picnic every week. So family is singular and goes will also be singular. So now we're quickly going to do some questions that are also part of your worksheet. So just so that you get a bit of practice. Okay, so let's look at number 8. There we have to choose a word from these two, was or were 15 candies in that bag. Now there is or are only one left. Now let's see what options will we choose. There were 15 candies, okay, because we're talking about 15 candies, it is plural. So our verb will also be plural. Okay. Now there are, sorry, now there is only one left. Okay, because now we're talking about only one candy. Okay, so now our subject has become singular, so now this verb will also be singular. So let's read the whole sentence again. There were 15 candies in that bag. Now there is only one left. So you see how in the beginning our subject was plural and so our verb was plural. Now towards the end of the sentence our subject has become singular and now our verb will also be singular. Okay, let's look at number 9. The committee debate these questions carefully. So we just did this in the 12th rule. So the committee is singular, and so we're going to use the word debates, which is singular. Okay, the committee debates these questions carefully. Let's look at number 10. The committee members lead very different lives in private. Now see, this is a little different because we're not talking about one committee. Okay, now committee and committee members are different. Now, this is singular because we're talking about one committee, but as soon as the word members comes over here, committee members, we're talking about many members, so this will be plural, okay? So the 12th rule that we studied will not apply over here. This will just be considered as plural, okay? So the committee members lead very different lives in private. So the word that we're going to use is lead because the committee members is plural, and so the verb that we use will also be plural. Okay, number 11 is the prime minister together with his wife greet the press cordially. Okay, again, so we studied this whenever there's an extra phrase in the middle, we sort of just ignore it for a while, okay, and we read the rest of the sentence. So supposing there's only the prime minister over here, so what are we going to say? The prime minister greets the press cordially, right? Because this extra phrase, it has nothing to do with the subject. The subject of the sentence is still the prime minister, which is singular, right? The prime minister is one person, and therefore we will use the word greets. So the prime minister, together with his wife, greets the press cordially. Okay, so now we have these two very interesting sentences. They may seem the same, but they mean different things. So let's look at them. Question number 24 is statistics is or are an interesting subject. Now you see that over here, statistics uh, is being talked about as a subject, right? And a subject is what? It's singular. Okay, so we're going to use the word is. So statistics is an interesting subject. It's like saying English is an interesting subject, or mathematics is an interesting subject, or history is an interesting subject, right? So statistics, even though there is an S at the end over here, does not make it plural because statistics is one subject. Okay, so you have to look at this, right? This is the subject. So our subject is singular, and so our verb will also be singular. So the correct answer is is. Statistics is an interesting subject. Now, question number 25 has also has the word statistics in it. But look, it's being used in a different context over here. Statistics dash often misleading. Now, are we talking about the same statistics as we did in question 24? No, we're not, because in question 24, we were talking about statistics as a subject. Over here, we're talking about data, right? Statistics, numbers, basically numbers. And what are numbers? They are plural. So what verb are we going to use over here? We're going to use the verb are. Statistics are often misleading. So see, you have to always look at the context of the sentence. You have to make sure that you understand the sentence before choosing an option. Okay, so number 38 is among the fastest improving middle income countries dash Latvia, Vietnam, Greece, Mexico, and Thailand. Okay, so clearly we're talking about a lot of different countries in this sentence, right? It's plural, so we're going to use the plural form of the verb, right? So among the fastest improving middle income countries are Latvia, Vietnam, Greece, Mexico, and Thailand. Question 39 is the weather forecast for most eastern cities dash high winds and cold temperatures throughout the week. Now see, what is the subject of the sentence? The subject is weather forecast. And what is weather forecast? It is singular. Now see, just because this is just an extra phrase in the middle for most eastern cities, right? So don't get confused by this. Just because most eastern cities is plural does not mean that your verb will be plural, because your subject of the sentence is still the weather forecast. Okay, this sentence is not about the eastern cities, this sentence is about the weather forecast, so your verb will be singular. The weather forecast for most eastern cities is high winds and cold temperatures throughout the week. Okay, because remember, connect the subject with the verb, ignore what is in the middle, imagine this is not there, and just make sure that the subject and the verb are agreeing with each other. Okay, number 40 is Morgan and Company dash beach bags for $1. Now see, Morgan and Company is the name of a company, right? It's one company, so it's singular. Okay, Morgan and Company advertises beach bags for $1. So advertises is singular. And why did we choose advertises? Because Morgan and Company is one company, right? It's like saying committee, like how we when we studied the 12th rule, it was like saying a committee or a team or a group or a family, right? It's the same as that. So one company is singular, and so the verb that will go along with that will also be singular. So that's it for this video. And I hope you guys understood everything I taught you in this video. Like, I know subject verb agreement is a very confusing topic. People often mess it up, but that's okay. Like, just make sure you get enough practice. We're going to give you worksheets. The link to the worksheets will be mentioned below. So make sure you get enough practice, just so that, just revise the rules and then go and practice questions so that the ideas are fresh in your mind, the rules are fresh in your mind when you're attempting the questions. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.